Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It's now 3 in the afternoon, and we are just about ready to begin. Once again, we are very fortunate to have for our speaker today this last session in the series for catechists. We have um, Dr. Erika Bolanos, who is a Doctor of Philosophy, major in theology from the University of Santo Tomas. She has also an MA in theology, also from UST, and a Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in religious education. And currently, she is the principal of the University of Santo Tomas Senior High School. Ladies and gentlemen, we are so privileged, honored to have as our speaker today, Dr. Erika Bolanos.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon po, magandang hapon. Is my audio clear? May I see a thumbs up, please, so I would know if you're all awake, alive and kicking? There, thank you so much. Maraming salamat po. No, so ibig sabihin, even if it's 3 o'clock, everybody's awake. Thank you. Let me just share my screen right there. Okay. And you know what? The joy that you have when you talk with someone that you feel at home. And I'm very thankful to Sir Man for inviting me. It always feels home when you talk with fellow catechists, religious educators. Kaya maraming salamat po. So good afternoon. Well, I personally chose this among the many topics, classroom miracles, classroom miracles, transforming ordinary lessons into life-changing moments. You know what's very striking, and I think you also noticed that the series here in our program speaks of different ways on how we can be fortified or nourished in our teaching and in our preaching. So, kaya nakita kong classroom miracles. That is something I think I would like to share, with some people. But I have a disclaimer. My disclaimer is that it does not mean that I have performed miracles in classroom. The perspective will be two. Me, myself as a classroom teacher who may have encountered or who may have been used by God as someone who can lead people to miracles, and as a person, as a student who was a recipient of that miracle. So I'm going to have two hats for today. So let me tell you something about how I perceive or who I am, and in what way can I reach to you. Okay, so right here. Sabi nila, at sa totoo lang, by experience, parang madaling maging rock star. Yung matutuwa ang estudyante sa'yo, no? Yung palagi kang babatiin ng mga estudyante, o kaya they will write you letters or smile at you, ask you for pictures, and then you feel like a rock star already. Yeah. Well, I think it is most of us here, no? Well, we're a good number, no, Sir Man? We have a good number. I think you might have experienced that, how to be a rock star. But my experience is that to be a rock star, keyword there is not just to rock as in the verb, no, but to be the rock. And Sir Manuel Goy was correct to say that I am, aside from teaching, I teach collegiate theology, and I am a catechist, by profession. I am a catechist, more than a theology teacher. I am foremost a catechist. And when we talk about rock and sometimes how people would idolize us, we may fall into the pit of losing our sense of mission. That's why I really feel very, very happy to share with you classroom miracles. Right here in this picture, you will see, actually po, this is just around 2,500 students. As a school principal, I have 5,700 students for grades 11 and 12. So imagine how the lights could drown a teacher, a principal. But the most important thing I think that can help us in our ministry, in ministering to the young, whether as a classroom catechist or as a school administrator or whatever subject you are teaching, I think what can prevent us from drowning in the lights is, again, not to feel like a rock star, but to be a rock. So let me begin with this story. One day, in an ordinary math class, a boy sat staringly blankly at the notebook. Natulala siya. And then his teacher asked him, "Are you okay?" Nagulat yung bata, no? Kasi that child doesn't really like math. In all honesty, he would not want to go to his math class because his previous teachers, when he was younger, would scold him for just staring blankly either in his notebook or the wall. Pero itong teacher na to leaned closer and asked, "Okay ka lang ba?" You know, I met that boy and he said, "That was the moment I knew someone cared for me." You see, nothing extraordinary, nothing spectacular happened that day. No awards, no breaking story, no new discovery. But to that boy, who's now at the Faculty of Engineering, to that young man, that question was life-changing. And that was a classroom miracle. I met him because 2 years ago, I taught at the Faculty of Engineering. For imagine, isang bata na nung grade school siya, takot sa math, ngayon, kumukuha ng mechanical engineering. Now I'd like to invite you, just for 10 seconds, very quick, what moment from your school life still stays with you? We all have been students. Right now, you're teachers. I presume that's why you're all here. Either, a classroom teacher or professional catechist, volunteer catechist. I'd like you to think of a teacher or a lesson that stayed with you, not because of the subject matter, but because of how the teacher touched your life. And I'd like you to hold on to that memory, that singular instance, that seed where I hope you could use as your guide for our sharing and reflection for today. Can I see a heart or a thumbs up so I would know? Are you all good? Salamat, salamat. When we talk about what I'd like to emphasize, when we talk about classroom minister, let me just remove this one. Okay. What I would like to emphasize is what we call the power of the ordinary. Because you see, the truth about the truth about being a classroom teacher, a teacher, whether you're teaching other subjects and not related to religious education, the classroom is filled with moments of grace. The classroom is filled with moments that can be turned into seeds of extraordinary. But we have to understand that whatever it is that we see ordinary can always be life lessons for them. Even if we talk about attendance checking, giving them homeworks, asking them to do collaborative works or group works, even quizzes, even their examinations. All of this can hold life lessons. All of these ordinary lessons that students encounter can be formed and transformed into something extraordinary. Whether we talk about failed science experiments, let's say, for example, in my case, when I was in college, napatawag po ako ng principal namin. I was a student council president. Napagalitan po ako kasi nagpapasok ako ng hindi authorized sa building namin, no? And she learned about it. She called for me. I went inside the principal's office, and of course, I was crying. I was scolded. Yeah. The principal, no, the dean of the College of Education. I was in college then. The dean told me, very simple analogy. Sabi niya, Erika, isipin mo, bahay mo itong kolehiyo. Ako, nanay mo. Hindi ba, bago ka magpapasok ng bisita sa bahay natin, ipapaalam mo? Imagine I was supposed to say my age, but I am now I'm now 45 years old, and up until now, that very same analogy I used to my senior high school students. That the building, the university is their home, and they have to look at us as parents. You see, everything, all can hold life lessons. And it is often these very ordinary moments that hold the deepest and most lasting impact on our students' lives. We don't have to we don't have to crack jokes or anything. We just have to value each and every time we are with them. The power of the ordinary must allow us to understand that ordinariness creates stability. Siguro ito yung pagkakataon na gusto kong mapaliwanag na minsan, pagpasok natin, I also fall into this pit hole, no? Minsan pagpasok natin, gusto natin all vibe, all perfect. We're all prepared. We're prepared. Of course, we have to be prepared in class. But sometimes we're looking for that moment wherein we could say, magaling ako ngayong araw na to. But I think if you would like to talk about classroom miracles and how to transform every day into classroom miracle, we have to understand that mahalaga yung ordinaryong bagay na ginagawa natin sa araw-araw. Because ordinary creates stability. When teachers think of their role, and many imagine that these are big moments, and that kailangan may mangyaring kakaiba, nakakalimutan natin na mas mahalaga yung stability of each day. Halimbawa, the rhythm of routine. We ask our students na the moment we enter the classroom, they stand up, the daily greetings, the classroom management, the homework reminders, ordinary lessons. This gives students a sense of security and belonging. The power of stability in ordinary things. Many young people come from unstable or noisy environments. So, when we consider that the routine that we have in class, this ordinariness that we have in class, creates stability for them. The noise that they often encounter at home compared to the calmness and safety that they feel inside the class the classroom then becomes their anchor. It becomes something consistent in their lives. And that's what I mean when we say ordinary, or the ordinariness creates stability. For example, huh, checking homework. There are hidden messages in all of these things that you will see. Checking homework teaches responsibility. Imagine right here, the presentation you see on your left facing the screen, we see there the routine things that we do. Group work, however, how do you say that? Routinary that may be for students, they teach teamwork and patience. And let me share with you, even in adults, as a as a as a school leader, I have the habit of combining or teaming up teachers with different personalities. So I've told you that I have almost 6,000 students, and we have in USC Senior High School around 260, 250 plus teachers. And of course, we empower them. So there are committees, there are committee works. And whenever we appoint or I appoint members of a particular committee, whether ad hoc or permanent committee, I really try my best to take a look at the personalities of different people. Kasi hindi naman sila magkakilala. Imagine niyo how we have two big faculty rooms. They don't get to see each other except for assemblies. And even if they do, I mean, there are not much interactions. There was a time that I got to talk to someone. Tapos sabi ko sa kanya, how did you two click? Why are you now best of friends? Sabi sa akin, kasi po na-appoint po kami sa isang committee. From then onwards, we became good friends. Imagine the power of ordinary that carries hidden message. Whenever we do recitation, of course, the hidden message there teaches our learners, our students, the courage to speak up. Even simple things, if you're teaching preschooler or grade schooler, waiting for one's turn, talk about respect. All of this, the lesson may be about algebra, grammar, but the hidden curriculum of all lessons is about responsibility, respect, and resilience. Alam niyo po, when we talk about ordinary, creating stability, and ordinary carrying hidden message, a student, in one of the recollection I gave, sharing, preparation for confession. Yeah. Sabi ni isang estudyante, grade 3, I love my teacher because every day she smiled and said my name. And it was the only time someone notices me. The power of hidden message, the power of the ordinary things which create stability. Third, how powerful ordinary things are. Ordinary is the soil for miracles. Just as seeds grow silently in the soil, life-changing lessons often grow in silence within these ordinary classroom routines. I actually am a little guilty about wanting that every class hour should be a standing ovation class. Pasensya na I often say this, no, na alam ko na I did well kapag my students would clap during classes. I teach collegiate theology during daytime. And I always would like my class to be fun. But sometimes when I go to class, and I'm sure all of you may have encountered this, no? Yung papasok ka, wala kang gana. Papasok ka malungkot, o papasok ka pagod. Imagine 7 a.m. class. But then we have to perk up, no? So that maging masaya yung mga bata. But when I was looking for some inspiration in my sharing with you, I realized, of course, the parable, no, of the soil. You know what makes the soil good for plant growth? I think it's ordinariness. Because whatever type of soil, uh, whatever type of soil that we're talking about, each of these may have its different characteristics. But what makes it important is how it is being tilled. And in our class, the the manner by which we conduct our class, we may not be able to take a look at them individually, no? Maaring di naman po natin napapansin, pero our learners, our students, they grow silently in that soil. Minsan matagal po ang return of investment, but we have to remember that each and every day, the ordinariness is a bed seed for miracles. And miracles rarely happen with fireworks. Pansin niyo po sa Biblia, ang mga milagro ng Diyos ay daily life stories. Kumain, naglalakad, huminto para magpahinga, pumunta sa balon. Those are ordinary life stories. We're not talking about grand gestures. Even the calming of the storm of Jesus did not happen with fireworks. So ordinary is the soil for miracles. They happen in small, consistent gestures. Patting your student at their shoulders or at their back, smiling at them. Perhaps even just saying gaya nung kanina, kumusta ka? Those may not seem big, but years later, I think, much like the engineering student I encountered, they can recall them as turning points in their life. Now let's go ask this big question. What makes a classroom miracle? And bakit pa natin gusto ng classroom miracle? No? What makes a classroom miracle? I have 3 principles that I'd like to share with you. And these are moments of connection, moments of discovery, and moments of transformation. Again, these are moments of connection, moments of discovery, and moments of transformation. And I'm sure we are quite familiar. You may have encountered this, but sometimes because we would like big gestures, nakakalimutan natin yung little and small things. Moments of connections. These are moments when a student feels truly seen and valued. It is the small moments. Moments of discovery, this is when learning awakens wonder beyond the textbook. And moments of transformation, this is when a lesson shapes confidence and gives hope and even resilience to a child. Let me give you some example. Okay. In one of my class, it's not a formal class, no? When I was younger, way younger, I teach and I volunteer as a teacher in Bantay Edukasyon, no? It's an informal class because the then ABS-CBN Foundation volunteers, we call it AFV. Familiar tayo sa foundation volunteer pagdating sa Bantay Bata, no? Bantay Bata 163. But there are three arms when we talk about helping out abused children. We have Bantay Bata 163. At least then, no, the framework then, and I'm talking about 90s to 90s to 2000, until around 2015. Yan, ito yung framework. So, Bantay Bata 163, then we have the hospicio, no? Wherein pagkatapos na may hotline, no? The ABS-CBN Foundation will man the hotline, help them by connecting them to particular agencies, no? Government agencies, non-government agencies, no? Then, of course, pag yung bata, no, pwede na siyang, o bago siya ibalik sa bahay nila at kailangan ng therapy, nilalagay siya dun sa isang bahay, no, like a hospice in Norsagaray. So that's the second, hospicio. And then the third is bantay edukasyon. Yun yung pagbabalik na, yung bata, i-reunite na sa family nila. Now, whether immediate family or next of kin or yung mismong family. So, once a month, there's an informal class there. Separate ang guardians or yung parents dun sa mga bata. There were two kids that I met there. Tawagin na lang natin silang Pepito tsaka si Pepita. There were two kids. Now, kasi one-on-one ang aming values education class, na formation and values education class. But these two kids, say around 6, 7 years old, they were inseparable. So halimbawa po, nasa akin si Pepito, tapos nandun sa kasama ko si Pepita, they would not want to be separated. So it was hindi po pwede sa amin yun kasi kailangan one-on-one, no? Kasi we have to be very there should be differentiated instruction. Dapat tutok ka dun sa bata, no? Sa tinututoran mo. Tapos, siyempre iba-iba experiences. So doon hindi talaga sila mapaghiwalay. There I learned that they were both rescued at the same period. Most likely at the same week. And then later on, they saw each other and shared some time together in Sagaray. Imagine the friendship, a relationship that bloomed out of chaos became something that they clung into. No? They were very close. And I think even in class, and we know for a fact that these are ordinary stories, but they are also stories of miracles. Friendship born from seating arrangement. Or say, for example, teacher noticing absenteeism which shows student support. Alam natin, these are also stories of miracles. Here, I'd like you to say, for example, pause and take a look at the screen. Here you will see some stories of miracles. In as much as I'd like to share with you so many things that your ordinary teaching situation can become miracles, I think it's good that you pause for a while and check, have I seen or have I experienced or have I facilitated a miracle in the life of any of my students? Whether it's the miracle of being seen, the miracle of second chances, the miracle of discovery, the miracle of care beyond academics, the miracle of belonging. One of my favorites, the miracle of silence, and the miracle that comes years later. I'd like to now wear the hat of a student. In all honesty, I have experienced all of these miracles from different persons when I was a student. And up until now, they have been my guiding, I say, no, they have been my guiding light in the way I do decisions. And the miracle that comes years later, up until this very day, I still see that teacher and am indebted to her. All of this tells us that, again, time and again, classroom miracles happen in three things, three principles: connection, discovery, and transformation. Before I proceed, I'd like to share with you the story of Yana. Si Yana po ngayon ay graduate na and working. Pamangkin siya ng co-teacher ko at the university. I've been close to Yana because, well, my friend, my co-teacher, would often bring her to the faculty room, and I would often visit their house. Oh, Yana's mom was an English teacher. So at a very young age, I think 4 or 5 years old, matatas na siya magsalita ng English, no? Ang galing po niya kaya ko po siya madalas pinupuntahan kasi para ako nakikipag-usap sa adult. So, one day, it was a Sunday, my friend told me this story. Together with Yana's parents, they went to Edsa Shrine for a Sunday Mass, and they were seated at the aisle, fronting, of course, the altar. And Yana, during homily, kept on bothering her mom. Talagang hinahatak niya yung sleeves ng mommy niya. No? She was then around 4 or 5 years old and speaks very well. Yeah, mom, mom. So yung mommy, shh, keep quiet, keep quiet. Mom, okay, Yana, what is it? Mom, we have a problem. Magaling po kasi talaga siya magsalita, eh, no? Talaga enunciated lahat. Mom, we have a problem. So, yeah, okay, Yana. What is our problem? Look! Sabi, tinuro po niya yung crucifix at the altar. Look! Jesus is dead. Kinuwento po sa akin ng kaibigan kong theology teacher, no? O nga naman. O nga naman, no? Imagine a 4 or 5-year-old worrying, Mommy, patay si Jesus, no? Jesus is dead. You know that story may not be a classroom miracle, but if you as a catechist, that is a miracle moment for me. The moment something very ordinary, like looking at the crucifix, becomes transformative in the life of a young child. Worrying. Nagsisimba tayo, pero patay si Jesus. I'm sure you have so many miracles, whether inside the parish or inside the classroom. Now, if a student were to approach you 10 years from now and say, Teacher, the miracle moment for me was when I'd like you to write it down. What do you hope they will say? Ma'am, ang miracle moment ko po sa inyo ay nung sinigawan niyo ako, ano ba? Binatukan niyo ako, ano? I wonder. I'd like you to write it down. What do you hope your student will say? Ang ganda ng sagot ni Sir Alfonso. I wish the same thing. Yeah. When I met you. Para pong mapapakanta ako dito, ah. Sinabi mong, "Anak mo rin ako at daddy ko rin po ang asawa niyo." Ah, huh? Oh, that's something we hope. You can keep on writing your answers there, no? "Ma'am, sir, ang miracle moment ko po ay nung" write your answers down. When you made learning fun. Ano kayang gusto ninyong sabihin sa inyo? We have lots of when faced with problem that I keep on repeating, mahal ako ng Diyos. Alam niyo po kung ano po yung again, I'm gonna put on my hat as a student, no? Once a student. I would tell my teacher, the miracle moment for me was when you said, you turn your scars into stars. Your student to tell about you or to tell to you. Now, we're going to our second part. What time is it? Let me just do a time check. Okay, I'm gonna have to hurry up. We're gonna talk about principles to transform lessons. Di ba kasi sabi natin, moments of connection, moments of discovery. Now, what about transformation? I'd like to focus on that. Okay. Here. Hindi ko na nababasa yung mga sagot ninyo, no? But at least you see each other's answers. Ah, I like your answers. Nakakatuwa po when you sing to us. Sana magawa ko po yan kaso wow. Seeing your smiling face even if you have a personal burden to carry. See, no ordinary things. Now, let's take a look at very, very simple principles that I think you've been doing this or you're very familiar, but I'd like to emphasize some things and share with you. Let's take a look at principle number 1. See beyond the lesson plan or the learning plan or the curriculum. Huh? Excuse me. We know already that teaching is never just about covering chapters or finishing slides. Palagi ko po itong sinasabi eh. At palagi ko rin sinasabi sa sarili ko na ang goal po ng isang Katolikong guro o ang Kristiyanong guro, kahit ano pa ang tinuturo natin, if you're a math teacher, in all honesty, your goal is not make them just good in math. That's not the main goal. Perhaps that's the immediate goal. Proximate, no, or immediate goal. But the ultimate goal of all teachers, all Catholic teachers should be to make saints out of our students, to make them good, to make them holy. We do not just teach content, but we teach character. We do not just make them know what history is. We don't just make them learn what's in what the content is. We also teach them about how to be good. I'm going to try to hurry up a little. Principle number 2, small gestures, big impact. Please never underestimate the power of tiny acts of kindness. Palagi po natin tatandaan kapag ang tinuturo natin ay si Jesus, if we teach about Jesus, if we teach about faith, dapat po kawangis tayo ni Jesus. Ang hirap naman na tuturo tayo tungkol kay Jesus pero mukha tayong demonyo. Kaya ang naalala ng bata ay si Satanas, no? I mean, very, very practical things that if we would like if we would like them to learn about Jesus, if we'd like them to be close to Jesus, well, primarily, we should at least be mindful that we are the image and likeness of God. And these small gestures, as simple as smile, encouragement, ito po, I'm a little, I have difficulty here, but napakahalaga po talaga nung remembering names. Hindi ba kahit na gumraduate yung estudyante, pupunta sa'yo, "Ma'am, kilala mo ko?" Parang gusto mo sabihin, "Anak, ilang libo na ang naging estudyante ko dahil higit 2 dekada na ako nagtuturo. Hindi na kita matandaan." Pero imagine if matatandaan mo sila and how their face would light up. Uh, Celebrating small wins. Meron po akong kuwento ng mommy ko 'to. Nalaman po ng mommy ko na very simple, I was a grade schooler. Nalaman ng mommy ko na may sakit ako. Ang simple 'no? Paano nalaman ng mommy ko na may sakit ako, samantalang araw-araw naman niya nakikita ako, pero hindi niya nalaman dahil magkasama kami sa bahay. Kasi yung adviser ko, tinawagan ng mommy ko, dahil ang dami ko raw tissue, kasi po 'di ba sorry, lumalabas yung edad ko. Dati ang upuan ng grade school from grades 1 to 3 hindi naman armchair, eh, 'di ba, separate ang table sa chair, and then there's this big hole or yan, where you place your things. Tapos nalaman ng teacher, nakita ng teacher, ang dami kong tissue paper doon, so that was imagine 'no, the how the advisor was very, very conscious of the student, kung sinisipon ba siya, kung bumabahing ba siya, remembering things, noticing, the art of noticing. Principle number 3, create spaces of wonder. Learning sticks when it amazes. When we talk about creating space of wonder, this is when we allow them to be curious. Curiosity transforms classrooms into places of discovery. We allow them to commit mistakes. I hope in your whenever you begin your class or first week of your class, kasi po isang bagay na mahalaga sa akin na malaman ng estudyante, sa klase ko pwedeng magkamali. You're allowed to commit mistakes. Because if we will not allow our students to make mistakes inside the classroom, kailan pa po nila pwedeng mag-commit na mistake? Para sa bahay, if we do not allow the kids, no, to commit mistakes at home, do we expect that they commit mistakes outside of our homes? Do we expect that they commit mistakes when they're adults already, they're CEOs and they're presidents, or they're already senators and mayors? And so we allow them to be curious, to discover, and even to commit mistakes. Because inside the classroom, they're guided. Nagkamali, edi turuan. Mahina sa math, edi turuan. Sometimes, if we become too focused on fixing the curriculum, too focused on the outcomes that is measured by grades, kahit po tayo sa CL, no, sa Christian Living, pag po ba 100 over 100 ang estudyante natin, ibig sabihin mabait na sila. They can memorize all doctrines, and yet they can still fail as a Christian. So, create spaces of wonder, make them curious, allow them to discover, allow them to make mistakes. And perhaps instead of asking them, what happened? Why did you not learn? Why did you make mistakes? Perhaps the best question we can ask them is as simple as, What could have happened if you did things differently? What could have happened if you did things differently? Ano kayang puwedeng mangyari kung hindi ganyan ang kung hindi ganyan ang ginawa mo? O kaya kung may iba tayong ginawa? That's why how do we create space of wonders? Well, three things. Ask thought-provoking questions. Allow them to think. Connect lessons to life. Allow them to think about what they're thinking. Alam po natin 'to na bilang if you're of course, so as educators na metacognitive skills. It's not enough that we teach them critical thinking, ask them thought-provoking questions, that's critical thinking, yes. But for them to connect lessons to life is already metacognitive. To know why they're thinking about their thinking. And of course, it's not only about thoughts, it's not only about connecting lessons to life. You allow silence and curiosity. Pwede sanang let them be curious lang ano, pero napakahalaga po sa'kin yung allow them to be silent. Because it is only in silence that they can be creative. It is also only in silence that they can discern. And that's how we create spaces of wonder. I'm just taking a look at the okay. I want us to have time for interaction. That's why okay, there. And principle number 4, one of my most favorite, be an accompanier. To accompany is to walk with students, not in front of them as commanders, nor behind them as mere observers, but beside them as companions. This is something I hope that will happen in the school that I lead, that each person becomes an accompanier, the teacher accompanying the new teacher, the security guard, an accompanier of a fellow security guard, or actually a custodial staff or a janitor also being an accompanier. I have this just a recent story. A security guard accompanying in a, I can say, being an accompanier to a grade 11 student. There is this applicant, uh, who wants to be a Famasian in UST, senior high school, but she did not pass the examination. And she was very persistent. So she emailed me, she messaged me in Facebook, she will go to the building, in the Frasati building, the university, and talagang sa mga sulat niya, sinasabi lang niya na, I really want to become a Famasian. Ma'am, kahit anong strand, kahit anong program, I can do it. I just want to become a Famasian. But you know what? One of the things that struck me is she took a picture of our security guard at the lobby of the ground floor lobby. Tapos sinend niya yon. In-email niya, sabi niya, "Ma'am, alam niyo po kung paano ko nagkaroon ng lakas ng loob na email kayo dahil po sa kanya." Then yung picture nilang dalawa na security guard, sabi niya. Sabi po kasi ni ate, natutuwa daw po siya sa akin dahil persistent ako na hindi po ako nagi-give up. Siya po nagbigay sa akin ng tip na puwede po kayong sulatan. Siya rin po nagbigay sa akin ng tip na na 'wag po akong mawalan ng pag-asa at pagdadasal daw po niya ako. Ah, Dun ko na-realize, imagine ninyo security guard po siya, 'no, pero yung inspirasyon at yung hope na nabigay niya dun sa bata na I think change and will change her life. Ngayon po yung estudyanteng yun, yung pong aplikanteng yun, estudyante na po namin. Ah, and I saw her already thrice, this month, and kaya ko po siya nakilala kasi nilapitan niya ako, sinabi niya na, "Ma'am, ako po yung sumulat sa inyo," so and so forth. So imagine how important accompaniment is. And accompaniment doesn't only happen sa ating po lamang mga guro, no? Everybody, everybody is an companion. Of course, most especially if we teach about the faith, or most especially if we are teachers. So the challenge here is to walk with them, not to boss them around, to listen more. And it means when we talk about listening, well, encouraging them when they fail and celebrating with them when they succeed. And lastly, I think in this day and age, to create safe spaces to fail and try again. Much like what I said ago, allow them to make mistakes. And when they do, make them comfortable that they can go back to you because they know you can help them pick themselves up. So para sa atin na mga guro, lalo na po ng guro ng panampalataya, you choose or we have to choose what can make an ordinary day and how we can make them transform into a miracle moment. So my challenge to you, ngayong linggong to o sa susunod na linggo, choose one ordinary practice. Checking of attendance, giving homework, recitation, whatever it is, choose one ordinary practice and transform that into a miracle moment this week. And we hope, in my prayer, later on, you encounter a student that will tell you, "Ma'am, sir, I don't remember the lessons. And I may not remember the lessons that you taught me, but I remember how you made me feel." And I think that is the best classroom miracle. Maraming salamat sa pakikinig, and may we all continue to make miracles in our classrooms. Magandang hapon po. Thank you po sa oras na to.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Erika, Dr. Erika Bolanos. Let's give her
Ika lang po.
our virtual round of applause. We are really very grateful for you finding time to be with us, Ma'am Erika. This is such a great privilege for us to have you as the finale speaker in this series. Today is the very last day, the last session we have. As I announced yesterday, the one of Father Mark Sese, who continues to be, I think he's still recovering from his sickness. We will just post it in the YouTube channel where we've also been posting the other sessions. So let me first stop sharing and we will stop